A pleasant afternoon to everyone. You know, it's very nerve-wracking to be the first presenter, so please bear with me, okay? But let me start my talk by asking you a simple question. Why are you here pursuing your master's degree? Well, the safest answer we usually say, we pursue our degrees for higher learning. We want to know more. We want to upgrade our skills. We want to become masters in our own respective fields. And for the longest time, having a degree was a passport, a journey to knowledge discovery, a pathway to upward mobility. It was rare and respected, most especially for developing countries like mine, the Philippines. Now, why do we actually pursue our degrees? Well, we pursue them for promotion, for opportunities, and for connection. And to be honest, those are my top 3 reasons why I applied here in IUJ. And I'm pretty sure I'm not alone. Now, let's go to the figures. Around 80% of 18-year-olds here in Japan actually go to higher education. In the Philippines, more than 4.8 million students are in universities. Globally, UNESCO reports that tertiary enrollment is at 235 million. That's double over the last 20 years. International students are at 6 million, triple over the same time period. And let's get closer to home. At IUJ, last year, President Kikawa welcomed 413 students. That's both first years and second years. And that's our largest enrollment that we had since IUJ was founded in 1982. And based on those figures alone, as you can see, times have already changed. Degrees are everywhere. They are expected. They are demanded. Degrees that were once rare passports, now they are entry tickets everyone is expected to hold. But if everyone has one, what happens? You know, between 1980 and 2015, jobs that require higher education grew up by 68%. Very impressive. Until we note that the number of graduates grew even faster. And then economics, we call that diminishing returns. When supply outpaces demand, each extra unit loses its value. And research from Pew and Harvard Business Review actually reveals a troubling reality. Half of US graduates actually go into jobs that doesn't require degrees. And around 3/4 of them are actually stuck in those jobs for more than a decade. And based on those figures, as we can see, this trend, it's all over the world. And what does that mean? Diplomas doesn't necessarily translate to more opportunities. The more diplomas that we produce, the less worth they seem to carry. The more credentials that we chase, the less meaning they seem to have. And this disconnection isn't just academic. We see them on the ground, in our classroom discussions, and even in conversation with our peers. There is a growing job mismatch that leaves our workers and industries frustrated. And yet somehow, we continue to perceive a degree as something that we should chase, an end goal that guarantees a better life. And this brings us to a much deeper concern. What happens when education stops being about learning? You know, before I arrived here, we had this farewell party, and I had dinner with my friends. And one of my friends actually worked in human resources, and at this one big engineering firm. We had drinks, and he was ranting to us about his work. He came across potential candidates. Most of them have university degrees. Some of them even graduated with honors. However, during the interviews, Some of them can't even answer questions on basic math and science. They can't analyze texts. They can't even explain what their undergraduate thesis was that they themselves should have wrote. Degrees that were one signal of knowledge and critical thinking have failed to serve their purpose. And yet, we can't simply blame them, because it's part of a much larger systemic issue. Somewhere along the way, education has stopped being about learning. And it's now about finishing, racing, or even cheating just to stay in the race. People pursue degrees just to tick a box, not to grow. A recent study in 2018 showed that around 15.7%, or potentially 31 million students, have admitted that they paid others to do their own work or their own research. And then came AI, ChatGPT. And while AI has revolutionized learning, and we reap the benefits of having AI as part of our learning environment, I personally use ChatGPT. But cases of plagiarism, directly copy-pasting from ChatGPT, has surged from 48% to 64% in just 1 year. Diploma mills, the business of selling fake degrees. It is now estimated to be a $7 billion industry worldwide. Can you imagine? And as the value of degree changes, having a degree is not enough for you to stand out. Some students join extracurricular activities, join student councils, and while some of them actually have good intentions, some of them are actually just there to pad their resumes or their LinkedIn credentials, and then just leave the work behind. Some would actually go into great lengths, great miles, just to get an A on their transcript, even compromising their values. Education has turned into compliance, not growth. We study just to get a diploma, a qualification, a piece of paper that we will just put in another piece of paper, our resumes and curriculum vitae. And education has lost its original purpose. And when this trend continues, what happens next? We will have graduates that they don't know why they studied in the first place. We will have a workplace full of titles, but they lack competence and credibility. We will have leaders choose and elect leaders. And while some of them actually have degrees, their honor, and their prestige, apparently, they can't even analyze, adapt, and truly lead. And education has become a race, not a journey. So what should we do? What's missing? What are we chasing? You know, when I arrived here in Japan, we had this series of post-arrival orientations, and one of the speakers from Globalized University actually introduced a word to us. And this word would actually change my perspective on things. Maybe some of you have already heard it. And it's what we call Kokorosashi. And Kokorosashi is a Japanese term. Like some of you guys maybe heard Ikigai or Kaizen or Monozukuri. It's a Japanese concept. And it actually has two parts. First part is Kokoro, which means heart. And Shi, which means warrior or leader. So when combined together, Kokorosashi literally means the heart of a leader or heart of a warrior. And it refers to the personal mission that unifies the passion and skills of a professional to create a positive impact in society. And it's not just about finding your career path or your life goal. It asks, what is the impact you're meant to make? How will you use your skills not just for your own benefit, but for the benefit of others? It's what gives your skills meaning. It's what turns your expertise into service, your credential into contribution. And in a world where we chase outcomes, where degrees are often treated as destination, Kokorosashi dares to ask, who will you become? And what will you stand for? Now, studying here in IUJ, I realized something very important. I actually know nothing, like Jon Snow from the Game of Thrones. You know, everything was hard. Homeworks, assignments, walking to the nearest convenience store, surviving the snow, endless requirements, and I was lost. And I was even demotivated. And I questioned myself, what the hell am I doing here? And I'm pretty sure some of you ask the same question to yourselves. And one of the answers to that question I actually found in one of our classes. It's a very famous class, Statistical Methods under Professor Ginay. And if you have taken any of Professor Ginay's classes, I'm pretty sure he's a professor that you will never forget. His rigorous questions actually demand comprehension and critical thinking, but it actually helps us understand why we study statistics. And during one of our classes, I see some of my classmates here, maybe you will remember this, he emphasized this 5 million times. You must understand the concept and theories behind. The computers, the tools, the calculators, they will do the job for you, but you must know how to interpret. Because most of you are policymakers, government officials, business leaders, and we cannot let tools decide what's best for your country or your company. You must make that decision. And suddenly, it clicked. It was never about formulas or getting an A or passing your grades or even graduating from IUJ. It's about responsibility. Because one day, we will not be answering hard questions from our professors. We will be answering to the people. And that's a lot harder. Why? We will be shaping policies, designing budgets, and creating futures. And a degree will help us do that. And a degree, it shouldn't just be a credential. It's a commitment. A commitment to build competence, to make wiser decisions, and to help societies move forward. Now, I'm not speaking here in front of you pretending that I figured everything out. I actually have a midterms on Monday. I still haven't prepared, and I have to figure that out. But as a public servant working under the education sector, my Kokorosashi is this: to make education in the Philippines more empowering, to help learners not just become recipients, but co-creators of the system, and to build a future for education that doesn't just inform, it transforms. And suddenly, all the hard days, the classes, they started to make sense. Not because they got easier, still very hard, but because they had a purpose. Because I wasn't just studying, I was preparing to serve. To serve my family, my people, and my country. And I must get that degree to gain that knowledge. So now, let me return to the question, why are you here pursuing your master's degree? Well, for some of us, it's a stepping stone. For promotion, for opportunities, for connection. And that's okay. But what if it could be more? What if, beyond the credential, it also carried conviction? What if, alongside opportunity, it also served purpose? And what if, beyond personal success, it also uplifts communities? And that's what Kokorosashi invites us to consider. That a degree is not the goal by itself, but it's a launchpad. not just for your own personal success, but for the success of others. Because maybe it's not the education that really matters, but it's a direction that we take because of our education. And that, friends, maybe is the true purpose of our degree. Thank you.